Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new, my name is Chris. Today's video is a house overview. I've been waiting forever to do this and it's been highly requested. This is the house of Elra K. Fragrance is created by the amazing perfumer Sonia Constant. She has created loads and loads of really famous perfumes, La Belle being one. She created that with Quentin Biche. Other fragrances, she's behind a lot of the creations from Narciso Rodriguez. I'm going to talk about all of the fragrances in the line with the exception of the few that are discontinued. Those fragrances I will not talk about because I do not talk about discontinued perfumes. I'm going to go ahead and start with the two full bottles that I have. The first one being Lettre de Pushkar. This is a beautiful ambery, like a spicy ambery, sweet jammy rose perfume. This is absolutely beautiful. This is a dark, sweet, jammy, slightly syrupy rose with some gorgeous spices. There is saffron and nutmeg in particular. So it's sweet, but it's not overly sweet. It's not too sticky sweet. And one of the perfumes that I smelt when I was testing them and knew immediately I had to get a full bottle. So I got a full bottle of this pretty quickly. It's quite lovely. It's thick and sweet, but it's not overly heavy and it's not super, super loud. The next one is called Cri Du Kalahari. Oh my gosh, this is for all my lovers of very, very woody fragrances. This perfume, all of these perfumes have a certain inspiration or a point of view. The inspiration behind this fragrance is a tree that is endemic to Africa. I think it's called the baobab tree. It's also known as the tree of life. It is a tree that grows in certain areas of Africa, and it literally provides a lifeline for the population in that area. It grows really, really well in arid places, and it holds a lot of moisture. So the elephants can come by and actually pick off the bark and suck some of the water out of the trunk. So it's a lifeline. The leaves of the tree, the locals can make tea. The seeds, I think they can make coffee from the seeds, and the tea has a lot of iron. And the fruit from the tree is also made into juice. So it is literally a lifeline for the community. To me, I don't get a lot of those nuances. I certainly don't get anything fruity. This is really just a straight up woody note. This is a gorgeous woody scent. It smells a lot. It's very wood chippy, and it smells mostly like a cedar sandalwood combo. There's a lot of patchouli in here and a little bit of green pepper. So, very unisex. Most people might think it leans a little bit masculine. I happen to be a lover of woody fragrances and fragrances with patchouli, but it just smells so incredibly realistic. It smells like a beautiful tree with a little bit of spices and smokiness. I adore this. A little of this goes a long way. This lasts forever. Okay, so there are a lot of leather-based fragrances in the line. The next one is one. This is Melodie D'Altai, and this is a sweet, kind of a boozy leather. The leather accord starts off very dry and earthy. There's something dry and earthy about it. Maybe there's a tad bit of vetiver, a little bit spicy, and as this evolves, it becomes sweeter. There's something sweet about it, almost to the point of being boozy. It's warm. There's a warmth to it. So there's probably a little bit of vetiver. I'm sure there's some sort of wood, I would guess cedar, and it has saffron in here. So it's like that spicy leather accord with the amber in the base, giving it some sweetness. I do detect something boozy, but I don't think a boozy accord is in here. Maybe it's just the amber. So this is beautiful. And if I needed another leather scent, I would tell you I would think strongly about it, but gorgeous if you like a sweet, ambery, boozy, slightly dry, earthy leather fragrance. Again, unisex, perhaps leaning masculine. I think it's solidly unisex. So the next one is called Reflet Sur Okavango, and this is all about, the point of view is the Delta, which is down in Africa, and about the vegetation and things that grow around this delta. Deltas tend to be marshy. So lots of different flora and fauna can survive in this area because there is a lot of water typically nearby. It's where rivers and streams kind of go into a larger body of water. And sometimes the flow of that water is very slow and can be silty. but it's around the trees there and the powdery floral. So this is a very powdery, dry, floral fragrance. It's sweet, it's very powdery, and to me it smells like honeyed yellow florals, although the particular floral notes or floral accords are those, you know, native to that area. I want to say the acacia flower and maybe like the African cap flower, a little bit of iris, all those combined to give a very, you know, a powdery floral nuance. It definitely is sweet. There is a sweetness in here. So it has a little bit of a syrupy sweetness. And I think there's some sort of liqueur in here that's made from the nut of certain trees. Maybe it's the acacia tree. There is a liqueur that's made from those nuts. I want to say it's marula. Anyways, nevertheless, it gives it this syrupy sweetness. So it has a syrupy sweetness in the dry down, some nice woody notes, and powdery florals, yellow powdery florals. So if you like that type of a vibe, it definitely leans soapy. There's a soapy quality to it. So if you love that, those soapy florals that are a little bit powdery with a little bit of a syrupy sweetness, you would probably like this. Okay, so the next one is called Poeme de Sagano, and or Sagano. And this, the point of view is the atmosphere surrounding a bamboo forest, and I absolutely loved the opening. I was strongly considering a full bottle based on the opening, but I'm glad I waited. So the opening's very fresh. I can get that fresh green bamboo, and it has a nice mintiness. So I do like a good minty note done well, and it's done well in here. Some greens, like a green leafiness, and these green notes are kind of offset with some beautiful citruses. I want to say like yuzu, grapefruit, maybe a little bit of bergamot. Definitely yuzu, because that would kind of go along with the point of view of a Japanese bamboo garden. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful in the opening. Absolutely loved it. Would be perfect for summer. For me, the dry down was a little bit more earthy. It was a little bit too dry, a little bit too earthy. I lost some of that mintiness, some of that freshness, and it just did not last that long on me. I got like 2 to 3 hours. So this is not a full bottle for me, but I do think it's a pretty scent. So the next fragrance is one that's probably getting the most hype or the most attention on social media, called Musc K. I can see why. It is a beautiful, oh my gosh, this is a gorgeous musk. So this is a clean, fresh, light, a little bit your skin but better, but also the most elegant, clean, fresh laundry imaginable. It has a beautiful floral element. It's very powdery in the beginning. It has a nice, you know, woody dry down. It starts off more floral and powdery, and then it ends a little bit waxy. So you've got a lot of gorgeous florals, nice and clean. A subtle citrusy freshness in the beginning. And it reminds me like 3 fragrances in one. It's a little bit Glacier You, it's a little bit Sonic Flower, and it's a little bit Fleur de Peau by Diptyque. So if you took all those fragrances, combined them, you would come up with something very, very close to this fragrance, and then add a touch of citrusy freshness. You would come up with this fragrance. It's absolutely beautiful. I can see why it's getting a lot of attention. I don't have a full bottle now. We'll see. I don't know if I need it. I need to do a musk dedicated video, and after I do that, we'll see if I feel like I'm missing something. But elegant, beautiful, timeless. I can absolutely see how it could be somebody's signature scent. So the next one, it's their newest release. It's called Orchid K. I was so tempted to blind buy this one based on just the notes alone, and the bottle looked beautiful. I can't tell you how happy I was that I did not buy a full bottle. This was an absolute fail for me. And this is one of those fragrances that to me doesn't smell at all like the notes portrayed. You know, there's a marshmallow accord, there is orchid vanilla, some woody notes. It just sounded so pretty. And this on me was just an utter aroma chemical mess. I mean, and maybe it's just my nose, but this was just, and I feel terrible saying this, and I think Sonia creates amazing fragrances. This was awful. It's just, you know, a woody aroma. I don't get any marshmallow. I don't get any beautiful orchid vanilla. And that's really the point of view of this fragrance, is the orchid vanillas that are apparently surrounding, northern Italy, maybe Lake Como. I don't get any of that. All I get is an aroma chemical woody mess. So it's some woody aroma chemical that is covered in like burnt seeds. Like you took seeds and you burnt them. And while they're smoldering, I smell that, like sprinkle that on a tree, and that's kind of what I get. I don't get any marshmallow. I really don't. I mean, it gives me a headache. I don't get any beautiful vanilla orchid, just a no. So if you were like me and remotely tempted to buy it based on those notes, I strongly recommend, like I did. I think I got mine from a place called Rich and Luxe, and I got this a couple months ago, so they may have it at other places now. But I'm so glad that I just got the travel size, because this was not at all for me. Okay, so the next one is called Harmattan or Harmattan. And I think this is also part of the leather collection. So the point of view being the Harmattan, and I think those are particular winds that blow somewhere in Africa, maybe the east-west winds. And depending where you are and at what time of the year, the winds could be very dry, very warm, or very, very cold. So I do think that this fragrance captures the essence of a warm and a cold fragrance. There are warm elements and very much cold elements. So the cold elements are some of the more fresher notes. There's bergamot, there's a lavender, some sort of tree leaf. So fresh, colder, refreshing parts of the fragrance. And then there are some warmer elements. You have patchouli, there's a vetiver, and definitely a leather accord, which is supposed to represent the tanneries that are around in the area. This is very much a masculine leaning fragrance, and to me it very much reminds me of like a spicy, woody, like a woody, peppery version of, oh my gosh, what's the fragrance I'm thinking of? A Sauvage, yes, very much so. So this could definitely be a Sauvage flanker, and because of that, it's not for me, but because Sauvage is so popular, I can see it be very mass appealing to men, but it just wasn't for me. So the next fragrance is called Camélia K, and the point of view is around this beautiful red camellia flower that grows, I want to say, in Vietnam. So the fragrance is supposed to be, inspired by this beautiful flower. The interesting thing is that the camellia does not have a scent. It's a scentless flower. So the notes that are created, or the accord that's created, is a fantasy of what this might smell like to Sonia. So it's fruity, it's tart, it's juicy, and it has floral elements. So to me, to sum it up, this is a more fruity, juicier version of Lettre de Rouge. It's less floral, so it's more fruity, it's more juicy, less floral. And you can substitute, I want to say, the blood orange in that fragrance for the fantasy note of dragon fruit, which is, I think, supposed to be in here. So if you like that fragrance, you should like this perfume. I do detect a little bit of a jasmine, a well done jasmine. So if you like that fragrance, you are more than likely to like this perfume, particularly if you like the idea of something a little bit more tart, juicy, and fruity, and less floral. So the next one is another one in part of the leather series, or the leather trilogy, and it's called Khasmin. The main notes in here are, you've got orange blossom, saffron, a leather accord, and dates. So a little bit Middle Eastern, a little bit of an exotic, spicy flair. So definitely orange blossom is the star. Then you add, saffron, which gives it that kind of that leathery vibe, a little bit of dates. It gives it a little bit of a dark syrupy sweetness. As it dries down, it becomes sweeter, and I do pick up more of an ambery accord in this. So if you like a good leather fragrance, if you like leather and orange blossom with a little bit of dates, some spiciness, I think it's easy to like. This is too leather forward for me. And in fact, one day I was testing it in early summer, and it was hot. It's been really cool lately, very cool for August, and it just gave me a headache. So, this will not be a full bottle for me, but I can absolutely see how many people would find this appealing, and it had, pretty good lasting power. So the next one is another kind of a leather forward based fragrance, and it's called Ghibli. And this is a gourmand leaning leather. So it is a floral gourmand take on a leather. It's honeyed. I get some honeyed florals in here for sure. Jasmine, it's got a little bit of a sweetness, like a nutty quality. So like toasted nuts, jasmine, a little bit of a honey flair, definitely that leather accord. Saffron as a spice, and I want to say it has, I think I read somewhere that it has like a nougat accord. So the opening is definitely gourmand forward. I get this honeyed, like a nougat butter, like a bakery item, soft floral. And then it really dries into a saffrony leather woody fragrance. So it starts off very unisex, maybe even leaning slightly feminine, and it dries down to a unisex or more masculine leaning. So if you fragrance, you have to be a lover of leather and saffron to enjoy this, because that's what the dry down is really all about. Despite that it has this really delicious gourmand opening, at least for me, a lot of those gourmand elements kind of dried down and it became, a saffrony leather woody fragrance. Still very well done. So the next one is Pluie Sur Ha Long. And the point of view, I think, is a tropical rainforest. So this one to me is it's very much a watery floral. It's kind of a fresh, dewy, watery floral. Very, very pleasant. It does remind me of something I've smelled before, and I want to say it's a Versace fragrance, maybe, I can't remember, but it does smell familiar. So the florals in here, I want to say water lily, like a lotus blossom. It has a little bit of jasmine, and it has some nice fruits. I want to say pear. I know at least pear. It has a lovely pear sweetness, and in the dry down, I get more of like a little bit of a pink rose peeking through. So I think it's very, very pleasant. It's quite lovely. I do like watery florals. I think they are wonderful to wear in the summer. It just, I'll put it down below when I can think of it, but it does remind me of something I've had and I've smelled before. Quite lovely, but I do not think I will be upsizing to a full bottle. And I'm going really quickly with these because I had a lot of ground to cover. So bear with me. So the last one is definitely one of my favorite in the bunch. It is a beautiful take on a rose fragrance, and it is called Mémoire de Daisen In. Mémoire de Daisen In. Anyways, so a really gorgeous take on a rose fragrance. So rose, peony, a little bit of tea, some juicy citruses, and a gorgeous, soft, gauzy, slightly watery musk in the dry down. The rose in here is definitely like a bright pink rose. So a happy, bright pink rose. And I can definitely get, I think there's peony in the notes. I definitely get something that smells like peony. Peony smells like a pink flower with a little bit of a green edge. So it's a very pink fragrance. It's a very happy fragrance. And it has, lovely citrusy touches. Tangerine and kumquat, I want to say, so some nice orange citruses to give it a little bit of freshness. So beautiful and light and happy and pretty and pink. And it comes the closest to my beloved discontinued fragrance called Stella by Stella McCartney. If you love that fragrance and you're sad that that one's discontinued and you don't want to pay $580 on eBay or Mercari for a bottle, this one comes very, very close and has actually better longevity. The differences between the two would be this one is not quite as sweet. I want to say Stella had an ambery accord to it, and it definitely had a sweetness to it. This one's not quite as sweet. It has a nice light green tea added to it, and it's a little bit more citrusy. And those are the main differences. So very, very pretty. I might be upsizing to a full bottle. We shall see. So that was my really quick overview of the house of Elra K. If you have any other houses that you want me to discuss, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. Particularly if you have been interested in this house like I have. There are so many wonderful perfumes in here, even though at least half of these perfumes are really not in my wheelhouse. They do not align significantly with my taste. I can appreciate that they are very, very well done. And I think really there's almost something for everyone in here, unless you are a die-hard gourmand fan and you were hoping that Orchid K would be that one delicious gourmand fragrance for you, I hate to be the spoiler, it's not, but I'm sure there are people out there that are going to love it. Fortunately, I did practice what I preached and purchased a sample or a travel size before I went ahead and blind bought a very expensive full bottle. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who always comes by, gives me a thumbs up, a like, and subscribes to my channel. I appreciate it so much. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.